Hi everyone, welcome back. So in this video we are going to solve the two problems that I talked in a last video. So the first problem was with this Prisma client. So in this auth controller I am creating a new instance of Prisma client. In tweet controller I am also creating another instance of this Prisma client. Let's say if I had 20 more controllers, then I would have created these 20 new instances of this Prisma client. So this is not good. This is not what I want. What I want is to have one instance of this Prisma client, and that instance I will use throughout the application. Okay, so in this source folder I am going to create a new folder. Let's call it config, and in this config I will create a file. Let's call it prisma client.js. Here in this prisma client.js I will create one instance of Prisma client, and then I will use it in my auth controller, in my tweet controller, and all the controllers. Okay, so let's do it. Const Prisma client equal require @Prisma client. Now let's create a new instance. Const Prisma equal new Prisma client, and then let's export it. So module dot exports equal Prisma. Okay, so here I have created the instance of Prisma. Now what I need, first of all, let's remove this, and let's import the Prisma client. So const Prisma equal require /config/prisma-client.js. So here I'm not creating a new instance, I'm using the instance that I created in this file, prisma-client.js file. So let me copy it from here and let's paste it over here. So instead of creating a new instance, let's use the single instance that I created in this config file. So the first problem that we were facing of multiple instances of this Prisma client is now solved. Now let's move on to our next problem. So the next problem is this: whenever I'm creating this tweet, I'm not authenticating the user, whether the user is authenticated to create this tweet, and also I'm getting this author ID from the request.body. Okay, so these are the two problems here. First, we need to authenticate whether this user is allowed to create a tweet, and second, we should get author ID from somewhere else, not from here. So let's go to our auth controller. So when I'm login, first I'm checking a user. If the user doesn't exist, I am returning with the status code of 401. Then I'm checking the password. If the password is not present, then if the password is incorrect, then I'm sending this message. And if the password is correct, if the user exists, then I'm creating a token. While creating a token, if you notice over here, I'm sending username as the payload. So with the username, let's also send the ID of the user. So ID colon user dot ID. So in the payload, I'm sending the username as well as the ID. So this is our secret JWT token, which is present here in this .env file. So what we are going to do in this tweet controller, so let me come over here. While hitting this create controller, let's create a middleware. So middleware will authenticate whether this user is allowed to create a tweet or not. So in the source folder, let's create a new folder. Let's call it middleware. And in this middleware, okay, it says the middleware already exists. Okay, so here it is. In this middleware folder, let's create a new file and let's call it auth.js. Okay, and now let's create our authentication middleware. So const, let's call it authenticate, const auth equal an arrow function. It takes request, response and next. Okay, and let's export this auth middleware or auth function. So export, not export, module dot exports equal auth. Okay, and instead of doing auth, let's call it auth middleware, or let's keep it auth. Both are good. So we have this auth function. The logic we will write it in just a moment, and we are exporting it. So here in this route, before hitting this create controller, let's hit the middleware. What was the name of the middleware? It was auth. So auth. So what will happen if I hit this create route? First it will authenticate and then it will create the tweet. So let's write the authentication logic. So here let's write the authentication logic. So the first thing that we need to do is to get the token. Where will I get the token? So the token will be present in the header. The same way, if you see over here, this content and this author ID was present in the body. We have something known as header where we can send the token. So const token equal rec dot header, and inside this header, it's not actually header, it's headers. Let's path authorization. Okay, and then we will use this split function. I will tell you what the use of this split function based on space, and then we will get the second element of the array. I will show you the use of this split function in just a moment, so hold your horses and let's write the logic. So what if the token is not present? What if the token is not present? So if the token is not present, then what will we do? We will return res dot status code of 403 dot json, and here the status would be false. Message, let's say token is not present, and data an empty object. Okay, so if the token is not present, then we are sending this status false message, token is not present. What if the token is present? So if the token is present, we will use the verify method to verify the token. So JWT, first we need to import this JWT. So const JWT equal require JSON web token, and we will use the verify method. So JWT dot verify. So the first thing that it takes is the token that we are getting from the header. So token. The second thing that it takes is the secret. So what was the secret? It was process.env. Let's come to our env file. It was JSON token secret. So let's put it over here, JSON token secret, and then it takes an arrow function which takes two arguments, error and decoded. So I'm writing an arrow function over here. So if error occurs, then we will return with a status code of 401 status false, and instead of sending this message token is not present, we will say authentication failed, and data should be an empty error equal error. Okay, and if there is no error, then we will set this request dot user equal this decoded object. Okay, if you are wondering what is this decoded object, so if you come to this auth controller and if you see this payload, so this decoded object contains this username and this ID. Okay, so request dot user equal this decoded object, and then we will call this next function. If everything is okay, then we are calling this next function. Okay, so now let's come to our tweet controller, and here we don't need this author ID. What we can do is here author ID will be equal to rec dot user dot ID. We are not sending this user in this request dot body. So where we are getting this user, so we are getting this user from this middleware. So if you come to this auth.js, we are setting the user over here, request dot user equal decoded object, and this decoded object contains the username as well as the ID of the user, which we need to create a tweet. So here the author ID is request dot user dot ID. So let's check whether it works or not. So let me run the project, npm run dev, and it's started at port 3000. So let's come to Postman, and over here let's log in. So we are logging. I'm sending the username Arvind, the password is 123456. Let's log in, and it says logged in. So let me copy this token. So while creating the tweet, I will send the token in the header. So bearer and then the token. So let me remove this old token and let's paste the new one. Okay, so you might be wondering why we have this bearer. So this bearer means whoever bears this token is authenticated to create tweet. Okay, so I'm sending the token over here, and in the body let's change the content. So this is the new content after token. Okay, some random thing, and let's send it. It says success true, successfully created a new tweet, and this is the new content after token. Okay, so what if I remove this E from this token? Okay, and let's see whether we are able to create a new tweet or not. So if I send this request, it says false, authentication failed. Okay, the reason why authentication failed is because I am sending the wrong token. Okay, and now let's cut this thing and let's not send the token. Okay, if it happens, it says token is not present. So to create a tweet, you need to send the token. Okay, and how will we get the token? We will get the token after logging to our application. So here in this auth middleware, I am first getting the token. So here this split means we are splitting this string. Okay, so we are splitting this string on the basis of space. So it will create an array. The first element of array will be this bearer, and the second element of the array will be this token. And we want this token, we don't want this bearer keyword. So to get the second element of an array, we write 1 because the index starts from 0. So the 0th index element is this bearer, the first element index is this token. So that is why we are using 1 over here. So if the token is not present, we are sending this status false message, token is not present. If the token is present, we are verifying the token with our secret JWT token. Okay, then we are checking if there is an error exists. If it exists, then we are sending this message authentication failed. If everything is okay, then we are setting this request.user object with this decoded object, and then we are calling this next function. Okay, once this next function is called, the control reaches over here. Let me show you. The control will reach to this create controller, and this create controller will create our tweet. It will first get the content from the request body, and the author ID, it will get it from this request.user.id, which I am setting it over here, request.user equal decoded. So this is it for this video. I will see you in the next one. Thank you.